Taiwan's birth rate is near the bottom on a list of over 220 odd countries in the world, with Singapore, Japan, and South Korea right there with us. Coupled by a rapidly aging population, it's estimated that by 2070, Taiwan's population is going to drop by one-third, from 23 million to 15 million people, with nearly half of them being elderly individuals above the age of 65. Economists around the world are warning about the adverse effects of a super-aged society on inflation, the fiscal balance, and healthcare. A country is considered a super-aged society if the share of people 65 years or more is 21% or higher. By estimate, Taiwan is more than doubling that number in one generation. If Taiwan's population continues to shrink and age at this pace, having difficulties hiring the right people for the jobs is the least of our concern. It's going to put a strain on our social system, national development, and economic security. In this episode, we aim to discover how to address the problem of low birth rate and labor shortage. I'm your host, Joey Chou, and this is Beyond the Reefs. Hi, you're listening to Beyond the Reefs, a show produced by Radio Taiwan International. Here we talk about socioeconomic issues that are faced by Taiwan and their broader impact around the world, beyond the reefs of this island nation. We always thought that Taiwan is safe and friendly, where most people would want to visit, certainly for vacations, and most likely to work and live here long term. But the truth is, Taiwan's immigration system, much like most of our Asian neighbors, is not exactly easy to traverse. Compared to our Asian neighbors, which country requires the most time as permanent residents before one can become a naturalized citizen, and which requires the least time? Let's start with the most. Asian countries that require the most time spent as a permanent residence before you can apply for a naturalized citizen are Malaysia, where it's 10 to 12 years, the Philippines, 10 years, and Indonesia, anywhere between 5 to 10 years non-consecutively. The Asian countries that require the least time as a PR before you're able to apply for citizenship are Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam, all 5 years. Singapore, 2 years. Naturally, you would think, well, move to Singapore then. Unfortunately, Singapore does not accept dual citizenship, which means that you have to give up your other passport, and most of the time, it means that you have to renounce citizenship from your motherland before you can become a Singaporean citizen. So our final question is, which Asian country allows for dual citizenship, as in you don't have to give up your other passport? And the answers are Cambodia and Thailand, while Taiwan technically allows for dual citizenship, but only for natural-born citizens, not for immigrants. If you are born Taiwanese, you're allowed to become, say, an American citizen or a Canadian citizen holding multiple passports. So, Taiwan is very convenient, people are friendly, the industries are booming, and the government is actively seeking foreign talents. If only you didn't have to renounce your original citizenship, it'd be a place where most people want to move permanently. Because let's be honest, we don't usually make big life-changing plans like living in a foreign country as a permanent resident without at least the prospect, the possibility of becoming a naturalized citizen, where you can vote and enjoy all the benefits as a natural-born local. While Taiwan is working on opening up some of those benefits, being also accessible to PRs, asking one to renounce their original citizenship is often quite enough to dissuade people from making Taiwan their semi or de facto permanent residence. But that's not the only problem that Taiwan has.
The Government Statistics Bureau has announced that real monthly earnings fell in the first 11 months of 2013 from a year earlier. Economists have many theories to explain Taiwan's stagnant wages and sluggish economy. And today, Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company chairman Morris Zhang attributed these problems to a skill shortage and strict rules that keep foreigners out of the workforce.
People who've lived in Taiwan long term know that there are some quality of life improvements the country needs to make before it is considered comfortable for foreigners. For example, what is generally considered the all-encompassing personal ID for foreign nationals, the ARC, had a different format of serial number compared to the personal ID serial of a Taiwanese national. The ARC serial starts with 2 letters, followed by 8 digits, while the Taiwanese ID starts with 1 letter, followed by 9 digits. This doesn't sound like a big deal until you realize that most computerized registry systems, from banking to telecom services, are not designed to recognize the ARC serial. In other words, any input that doesn't start with 1 letter followed by 9 digits will simply be denied access. That didn't change until 2021. Which means that before that, every foreign national had to go to apply in person for everything from opening bank accounts to getting a cell phone numbers, or sometimes even just purchasing concert tickets or train tickets online. Now that is extremely inconvenient. For more about these quality of life improvements Taiwan can make, we can look to ECCT, that's European Chamber of Commerce Taiwan's Better Living Committee, which aims to improve the quality of life for all members of the international community in Taiwan by promoting solutions and advocating for these at both the local and central government levels. They published annual position papers to advise the government on what they think Taiwan can improve on. For the 2024 position paper, this includes a range of issues from dual citizenship for long-term permanent residents to disability certification for foreign residents and the bane of Taiwan living, making Taiwan's roads safer for all road users. On that one, in 2022, CNN published an article titled "Taiwan's Living Hell Traffic is a Tourism Problem," citing that nearly 3,000 people lost their lives to traffic incidents the year prior. Since then, the government has instituted stricter traffic laws, but road safety is definitely amongst one of the least appealing parts about Taiwan. Today, we'll be speaking with Mike Jewell, who is the co-chair of European Chamber of Commerce Taiwan's Better Living Committee. His work in market research has taken him around the world, but he decided to make Taiwan his permanent home for the last 20 plus years.
I actually first came to Taiwan in 1986. Been working in the UK up to that point and was looking to move abroad, and an opportunity presented itself in Taiwan. I knew nothing about Taiwan at the time, but it sounded interesting and exciting, and I followed that and was here for a year. Immediately took to Taiwan, even back in the mid 80s, still under martial law at the time, but I enjoyed living here. Only stayed for a year and then went off globetrotting, and then finally found my way back here in 2003, and I've been back here ever since. These days, the international community here, I think, is smaller than it was when I was here in the 1980s. Expatriates have been replaced in a lot of positions by suitably qualified Taiwanese. So companies have found that they don't need to invest so heavily in traveling their foreign talent and stationing them here with all the costs that go with that. Now, with the government's drive to attract more foreigners to Taiwan to bolster the talent gap which they've identified. My career, my professional background has all been in market research. So I was working for a variety of market research agencies, suppliers around the world, and stayed with them until 2019 when I retired. So now I'm a gentleman of some leisure, but I keep up my interests in the business environment through being actively involved in the European Chamber and also the British Chamber of Commerce. 1994 was the first time the Chamber produced its position paper. That comes from all of the different special industry committees and special interest groups that ECCT embraces. There are 29 different committees, and Better Living Committee is just one of those. And each committee goes away and puts together all of the key issues and recommendations as to how those can be improved. These are then brought together in quite a large publication, which is handed over at a formal ceremony, usually during November, to the National Development Council. They do take the position papers very seriously and coordinate the responses from various ministries, and they feed those back to us over a series of meetings over a period of months. And in addition to that, there are various delegations from the Chamber cutting across several committees that will meet with different ministries, to senior individuals within the administration, and so on, to follow up on the issues over the course of the year. The European Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan website, all of the information is on there about all of the events that the Chamber runs. And there is a dedicated section for the Better Living Committee on there.
In recent years, the National Development Council has adopted various talent recruitment policies to address the issue of a future labor shortage. Launching the Act for the Recruitment and Employment of Foreign Professionals in 2018 and establishing a Taiwan Gold Card office in October 2020 to offer dedicated consulting services for Gold Card applicants and holders. As of October 2023, over 56,000 high-skilled foreign professionals have been approved. That's a growth of over 80% compared to the end of 2017. In mid-July 2024, a new bill was passed to make Taiwan that much more welcoming to some immigrants or those who seek permanent residence in Taiwan. A lot more resources will be allocated to help people integrate into Taiwanese society. For years, the National Development Council has set goals to attract more foreign talents. Universities have been tasked to enroll more foreign students, and the National Science Council, for example, even spent $12.4 million on a STEM recruitment program to incentivize Taiwan tech talent living overseas to return to the country. Last week, we spoke with the managing director of Taiwan Gold Card Office, Jonathan Liao, who discussed platforms such as talent.nat.gov.tw or goldcard.nat.gov.tw, offering resources and help desk services to draw more talents for Taiwan to grow, economically and technologically. So the government is clearly investing in foreign talents, but do we have enough, and what seems to be the problem?
I think there are always going to be challenges when somebody moves to a new country. I've done it plenty of times, and it's always takes a little while to adjust to how to go about things, setting up home, making all the necessary arrangements, and so on. One thing that always comes out from surveys which are done on this subject in Taiwan is the problems with language that the incoming foreigners face. Although, having said that, there's an increasing number who do speak Chinese. Although that is manageable, and the government is taking steps to improve that with the bilingual 2030 program that they put in place. And the International Team Talent Office are working very hard to provide support for incoming foreigners as well. So that side of things is manageable. I think the one thing that always comes out time and time again, it's finances and making financial arrangements. Just simple things like opening bank accounts, getting credit cards. A lot of people do face just outright refusal from the banks to consider offering services to foreigners. I mean, I've had a bank account with one of the banks here for the best part of 20 years. And I went in to see them a couple of years ago and asked them if I could use their online services. Flat refusal. Foreigners can't do it. They've got all of my records going back 20 years. Why can I not use the online system? I mean, there are problems as well with permanent residents here that want to apply for mortgages. They're either refused flat out or else they have to get guarantors and so on and so forth. So you have to go through so many hoops to try to find one that will accommodate you. There's so much inconsistency between banks. And in many cases, it varies from branch to branch as well. One of the more recent ones was personal interest here, discounts for senior citizens, senior foreign members of the community here. Previously, on turning 65, then Taiwanese are able to access a range of discounts for all types of public transport. We raised this issue saying that surely these same discounts should also be available to APRC holders, permanent residents. And although we haven't been able to get blanket approval from the central government on that, we've been successful with several of the municipalities now opening up those discounts to APRC holders. Last year, we raised the issue about disability certification for foreign residents here. This is something which we joined with the NGO Crossroads. They mounted quite a strong campaign. We threw our weight behind that. The idea that permanent residents here with disabilities should be given the same benefits as Taiwanese citizens. Now that has been opened up. There's still a way to go for it to be complete blanket coverage for all disabled foreign residents, but a number of countries' passport holders can now access those sorts of benefits. Another issue which we've been looking at for a number of years. I'm very glad that there's now a broader campaign really to being coordinated to push for this. It's the issue of naturalization for permanent residents. Up to this point, to all intents and purposes, if somebody is in Taiwan and wants to take Taiwanese citizenship, they have had to forego their original citizenship, give up their original passport. There have been exceptions to that, but that's the basic issue with it. Now, the government has set out various conditions under which somebody can apply for naturalization and still retain their original citizenship, i.e. become dual citizens. But the conditions for that are firstly pretty stringent, and secondly really rather opaque. There's a lot of subjectivity involved in the decision making. And we've pushed for in our position paper over a number of years has been for those criteria to be set down much more clearly, much more openly, and much more achievably. So permanent residents lived in Taiwan for a period of time, 5 years continuous residency. Those should be the basics for under which people qualify for naturalization, rather than having to go through convoluted process and produce reams and reams and reams of paperwork. One contact I know eventually got his dual nationality, but he said he had to present in total 2.5 kilograms of paperwork in support of his application. So we've been advocating for a much clearer pathway to dual citizenship. I mean, after all, Taiwan citizens are allowed to maintain multiple citizenship. So why should the authorities deny that to members of the foreign community? Of course, we've thrown our weight behind it again, and we'll be looking to see how that evolves over the coming months. And of course, it's a point which we put into the position paper for submission to the National Development Council.
There are still many quality of life improvements Taiwan needs to make, but first and foremost, to settle the immigration problem, we need to allow people to become naturalized Taiwanese citizens, or at least have the prospect of it, without renouncing their other passports. And for this, there is a petition on the Public Policy Participation Platform, which is modeled after the U.S.'s We the People, a place for online petitioning and public discourse of national policies. It's organized by Crossroads, a nonprofit organization committed to serving as a connector between the local Taiwanese and international communities and facilitating an exchange of talent and resources. They're the ones to petition the government of Taiwan to grant immigrants who have legally resided in Taiwan for more than 5 years as permanent residents a standardized pathway to naturalization without requiring them to renounce their original nationalities. The petition is titled, "To Exempt Permanent Residents of Taiwan from Renouncing Their Original Nationalities to Become Taiwanese Citizens." It's a mouthful. I don't expect you to search for it. I'll put the link in the show notes. The petition helps Taiwan to properly prepare and meet the increasing impact of population decline and aging, one of the greatest challenges being faced by advanced countries around the world today. And with an eased pathway to citizenship for immigrants and their children, the pool for, say, military conscript is also enlarged. As a welcoming country for immigrants to become part of the society, Taiwan can utilize another source of soft power on the global stage. And we hope with these, Taiwan can address our low birth rate and talent shortage problems. Coming up next week, we'll talk about Taiwan's relationship between our healthcare system and taxes, which is a conversation that also revolves around Taiwan's super-aged population as well as our dwindling workforce. I'm Joey Chou, and you've been listening to Beyond the Reefs.